Als das Kind Kind war, ging es mit hängenden Armen, wollte der Bach sei ein Fluss, der Fluss sei ein Strom und diese Pfütze das Meer. Als das Kind Kind war, wusste es nicht, dass es Kind war. Alles war ihm beseelt und alle Seelen waren eins. Als das Kind Kind war, hatte es von nichts eine Meinung, hatte keine Gewohnheit, saß auf dem Schneidersitz, lief aus dem Stand, hatte einen Wirbel im Haar und machte kein Gesicht.
When thinking of religious symbols, particularly in Christianity, we often think of angels. In the Bible, angels are divine, pure, and spiritual beings that are messengers of God or protectors of humanity. They are our guardians, as we often pray to our so-called guardian angels as young children to watch over us. We see the literal sense of this symbolism in Wim Wenders' Wings of Desire, in which he explores such religious themes in a postmodern tale in post-war Berlin, Germany. But what exactly makes this story postmodern? As a post-war German metropolis, Berlin is a divided city without a clear historical center. The film's emphasis on fragmentation and discontinuity is cinematically revealed through the series of snapshots that introduce the viewer to Berlin, as well as the film's resistance to a traditional chronological narrative. In this sense, Wenders' work here corresponds to David Harvey's definition of the postmodern as a total acceptance of the ephemerality, fragmentation, discontinuity, and the chaotic. Wings of Desire deliberately portrays modernist elements, such as exaggerated poses and overstated mythical connotations, in an attempt to represent the interconnectedness between modernism and postmodernism. Technology plays a central role in establishing the film's postmodern setting. The film's opening shot of an airplane quickly reveals the significance of transportation technologies in the postmodern city, as well as highlighting the breakdown of physical boundaries in the postmodern era. Transport technologies are able to transcend any physical boundaries and create a uniform metropolitan area. Yet, despite all of these communication technologies, there is very little communication occurring between Berlin residents. In fact, they are largely alone and isolated from each other. These people are always surrounded by others and yet are strangely alone. We, as viewers, know that the residents are in fact not alone, as they are being watched by our two main protagonists, Damiel and Cassiel, who themselves are angels sent as humanity's guardians. If Damiel and Cassiel are angels, then what does it mean to be an angel? The Bible depicts angels as servants of God, with a human appearance and having a spiritual nature that exists beyond the physical realm. Wenders touches on these key aspects in Wings of Desire, as both Damiel and Cassiel appear human, but exist beyond the constraints of time. However, these angels have been in Berlin since the end of the Second World War, condemned to remain there. They have no kind of power and are simply onlookers, watching what happens without the slightest possibility of taking a hand in any of it. Previously, they had been able to influence things. As guardian angels, they could at least give a whispered counsel, but even that is now beyond them. Now they are just there, invisible to man, but themselves all-seeing. Having been wandering around Berlin for 40 years now, Damiel and Cassiel each has his own patch that he always walks, and his people, of whom he has grown particularly fond of, and whose progress he follows with more attention than that of the other people he watches over. Not only do the angels see everything, but they hear everything too, even one's most secret thoughts. Yet people are unaware of their presence. Adults never seem to notice them while awake, only in dreams, while children seem to be the ones to catch a glimpse of them. Even though the angels have been watching and listening to people for such a long time, there are still many things they don't understand. For instance, they don't know and cannot imagine what colors are, or tastes and smells. They can only guess what feelings are, but never experience them directly. They are familiar with emotional expressions in humans, but cannot express them themselves. Damiel in particular is quite curious about the human condition, and desires to learn more, but he is simply an angel, and is not destined to experience those sensations while staying an immortal spiritual being. With the angels being destined to simply exist for the guardianship of humankind and nothing more, it does not come as a surprise that Damiel has the extraordinary notion of giving up his angelic existence for a human life. Damiel had fallen in love with a woman, and it was his desire to be able to touch her that gave him the idea to give up his wings, despite the unpredictable consequences. What persuades him is not the new experience that he might have with her, or wanting to put an end to his troublesome impassivity as an angel, but the hope that something important might flow from his changing sides. The hope that by renouncing everlasting life, he might cause prodigious energies to be released, in which he may become a real angel of peace and help bring peace to the world in a human form. Damiel's curiosity and sense of wonder is what leads him to enter the world and become one of Wenders' anthropomorphic angels. By the end of the film, he has become human and experiences the world no longer in black and white, as the angels do, but in color, while experiencing love with Marion. Wings of Desire is primarily about the joy and pain of being human, but in addition, Wenders has stated that his angels are a metaphor for history and the memory of it. As Damiel has experienced Berlin at its most vital and terrifying, its history is still unfinished. Damiel decided that even though he may live in a city scarred by war and division, it is better to be alive and human, here and now, than to be in limbo as an angel, never truly experiencing the world for what it is. Damiel ends the film by saying, Ich weiß jetzt, was kein Engel weiß. A truly powerful statement, given that Cassiel, who continues to be an angel, will never get to experience the human condition as Damiel will come to learn. There is something to be said about Damiel's desire to become human, as questioning his angelic existence allowed him to live a more fulfilling life, rather than watching others from a distance.